Hey, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to Tech Enabled Agent. I'm Maps Coach Tim Beverlin. Thank you for joining us for another session. We've got a lot to cover today and a very special guest that will be joining us in just a second. Before we get into that, wanted to make sure that everyone knows Masterminds is next week. So as a result, we will not have our program next Tuesday because we will all be in Masterminds. So it's a digital experience. If you have not already registered for Masterminds, especially if you're a Mastery client, jump in there and register today. If you're not a Mastery client, go ahead and register today for $49. It'll be Monday and Tuesday of next week if you're watching this live, the 8th and 9th of June. And again, full digital experience. There'll be panels of best practices, some things on technology. There's a keynote speaker that you will not want to miss. So lots of things coming up next week. So we will not have our program Tuesday. We will still have it this Thursday, of course. The next part of our program today, I'm really excited. We've got a guest with us that I'm going to let her introduce herself as we get to our next slide, and I know Jen's going to pop on with us. Jen's numbers will speak for themselves. So Jen, thank you so much for jumping on here with us. I'm actually going to go off of our slides for a second. We'll just go full screen. So first of all, thank you for coming on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure, Tim. Actually, thank you for having me on. I'm super excited about this today. So my name is Jen Davis. I am also a MAPS coach. However, my primary responsibility is I am the CEO of Holt Homes Group out of Springfield, Missouri. Started my KW career as a buyer's agent for our team and really spent 6 years diving into that thought of building a team within a team. And so my focus was on the buy side. I love buyers and I wanted to have a big life like a listing agent could. And at the same time, I needed to learn some leverage around the buy side. So what we did is I spent 6 years developing this team within a team. I followed the MREA model just on the buy side. So we added admin first, and then I added some lead generation support, and then finally I added the showing agents. So my last year pre-showing agents, I closed 110 units on the buy side with no showing agents. Then in 2016, I added my first showing agent in January, my second showing agent that July. We jumped up to 182 units. And then we've consistently since then been at 225 units a year, roughly on the buy side with those three people. A year ago, I stepped out, replaced myself on the buy side, and now I'm running our team. And you know, the interesting thing is I'm super interested in all of the efficiencies around production. And so technology does a lot of the heavy lifting for us on some stuff. And so what we found is having those pieces of leverage and the right technology in place, our agents are able to do more. They're able to stay in there 20% more. So on average, an agent on our team closes about 80 units a year. So.
And I know right now there's some people watching this going 80 units a year. I'm just trying to get to 20, 30, 50. And there's some that are saying 80, I want to go to 100. Tell us a little bit more about your path to going to 100 units a year.
So the path to going to 100 units, I'll tell you, by the time I got to 100, it was easier than when it was 50. And that is having the kind of the emotional intelligence around what your strengths and weaknesses are, right? And understanding what to leverage and when to leverage it. So I think a lot of buyers agents get to this space where they think, I just don't want to show houses anymore. You know, I'm going to just leverage that showing piece off so fast. And that's our highest dollar producing activity. So for us, we looked at it, and I was very intentional with what my top 20% activities were, and I understood that those changed year over year. So ahead of being at KW, I was at another company, and my biggest year ever, I closed 16 units. So I guess my goal for today would be for somebody to look at this. You may not want to do 100 units. You may not want to do 200 units. And I can show you how to get to 50 pretty easily by kind of learning from some of those inefficiency mistakes that we made. So path to 100 was, I had a really rough year. My first year at KW, I closed 49 units. I had no leverage. I was running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. No real good systems put in place. And so at the end of that year, I looked at it and I thought, well, I want to grow and I don't want to grow at the cost of my family. And I have 2 little kids. I want to be home nights. I want to be home weekends. And so that's what I set out to do, beginning with that end in mind. And I looked at those top 20% activities and I thought, okay, this is what I have to do, and every other thing we're going to figure out how to leverage off. And then we jumped up to 72 units on the buy side. And then I added a MAPS coach, and my MAPS coach said, okay, here he basically had a flashlight, shining it in every aspect of my business, saying, here's where these inefficiencies are. And some of it was the buyer consult, some of it was setting expectations with my team, with our clients, with family. And so that year we really dove into timing, blocking a calendar, making sure that there were really strong parameters around family time and business time. So by the time I got to 110 units, I had admin in place. I had someone to help to nurture those leads. I had someone helping me build out a pipeline so that I could really service those right now buyers. And then what we looked at, we were like, okay, I'm now at capacity and I'm the ceiling for our lead generation team. There's nowhere else to book me because I'm going to take, I'm only willing to work 2 nights a week, and I was only willing to work 1 day of a weekend. And so that's when we added those showing agents. And the interesting thing is, by the time I got to 225 units, I never am home after 4 o'clock. I never work on a weekend. Now, do I answer phone calls? I do. I'm still in real estate. I still, operate a big team, but I'm not on appointments nights and weekends. I'm home.
Okay, so you said a lot in there with that path, and you're making it seem really easy. And I know it was a lot of work in order to get you through this. So let's just talk for a second about your lead sources.
Okay.
So your lead sources when you first started versus your lead sources today, and kind of in between, what does that look like?
That's great. That's a great question. So when I first started, it was really just Dan, one admin, and myself. And I think he was probably closing around 80 or 90 units at that time. My main lead source then and now are sign calls. We have a really huge listing presence in our community. And so when I first started, it was very much when the phone rang, I knew all of our inventory. I could capture the lead on the phone very quickly and try to get in front of them, whether that was a buyer consult or, showing or something. I've gotten better about not running and showing at this point, but so that's always been a top lead source is that. At that time we did have Zillow leads. We don't any longer have those. So we had some Zillow leads, and then open houses. So we were in the hunt and gather mentality for a long time. So we didn't really start developing a database and trying to go after past clients and reviews and referrals and those types of things until about 3 years ago.
Okay, so now your primary source of business, where is that primary?
So primary source of business is past clients, repeat referral type business. That's about 35% of it. We still have about 25% that are sign calls. So we still have a really big listing presence. And then we're adding in, we've got open houses and those types of things. And now we're adding in the leads through command.
Okay, great. Any particular area? You said you're doing campaigns, I believe, to get leads through command. Great. All right. So what I wanted to kind of shift into is something you shared with me yesterday. Follow-up has been something that has been significant for your world. So I figured we could touch a little bit on that.
So it's interesting. The first time I read Shift, and clearly we've all read it recently, and I read it newly in the business, and something that was said in there really stuck out, that if you've got to spend as much time on lead conversion and lead follow-up as you do lead generation. And so when we were building this out, I had to think, okay, if I'm going to spend the time generating these leads, how do I also service them? How do I stay in front of them? And so, those types of systems have also progressed. At one point it was just a notebook piece of paper, and then it kind of grew to spreadsheets, and then, where we're at now with smart plans and things. So the follow-up, what I have found is most agents drop off after the second or third time. that they either don't get an answer or they somehow feel that they got a no. And so what we have built our business on is having a very robust pipeline. So regardless of what the market is doing, we always have ready, willing, and able buyers. So what I've noticed is we had normally, traditionally speaking, there are 30% of new leads that come in per month that will transact in that month. So if I wanted to sell, 3 properties, or I wanted to sell 3 buyers homes, I really need to meet with, between 9 and 10. If I'm going to make sure that I hit my 3, I've got to have enough leads to support that. But those additional 6 or 7, I've got to put on a follow-up plan. So at some point they become my 3 for that month.
It's your 90-day plan.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's interesting because Gary talked last year, I think, at Mega Agent about people being in your funnel for 19 months before they really do something. And I was like, that part of it is so interesting to me, because if you know what that time frame is, then you know what your follow-up systems need to be, and you also know kind of where you're coming in with the different leads and how then to best follow up with them. So it's really pairing, okay, here's what our lead source is, here's what we know, how long it takes them to transact, and then here's the best follow-up plan for that person or that lead source.
Okay, and you were kind enough to send over what that looks like. So I'm going to pull up on our screen. Let's just shift gears into what this actually looks like. So you should now be able to see, I believe, your plan. So this is a smart plan that you have set up essentially. So talk to me. Yeah, tell me what this is.
So basically, this is one of our plans that's a 10 days of pain. Some people call it 10 days of love. You can call it whatever it is that you want to. This is and this is specific for someone that registers on our website. So we have different ones for different things. So all of our smart plans are tailored to how the lead comes in based on the knowledge that we have of what our chances are of transacting with that client are. So this is really what happens from the time the lead comes in from our website all the way through the 10 days. We even, you can even see some of the texting that goes back and forth, what the triggers are.
Okay, so walking through this, you kind of see day 0, they're getting a text, and I apologize for looking to the side. I'm looking at my second screen. You're getting emails, another text. Day 2, there's a task set up. Day 3, there's another task, another alert. Yep. Day 4, there's an email, are you available? Day 5 is a text. Day 6, another text. Day 7, another task. Day 8, an email. Day 9, and I've heard this described as 10 days of pain for you and 10 days of pain for the lead. Is that an accurate statement?
It is. We joke that, they have to basically file a restraining order to get away from us in this first 10 days. So they have to really try hard to get out of this. And then at the end of that 10 days, then they go into a separate follow-up plan depending on what's happened. If we never get a response from them, they still stay in our pond. They still stay in the pond of leads that we have, and they still get put on follow-up plans. They're still getting updates. But this is the one where I thought most people are gonna get something out of this, where, okay, a lead comes in, we all have those people that won't return our calls, that won't return text messages and emails. So this is what we do, and then they get put on, kind of our 36 touch campaign.
Cool. And what's awesome, and we talked about this in our session last Thursday, that we know the Smart Plan library is coming very soon, where teams like yours will be able to, actually anyone, will be able to share to the library their smart plans, the custom smart plans, so that other agents can download those and customize them slightly and use it for their business. You've been kind enough to give it to us ahead of time. So what we'll do for this community is I'll attach this as a PDF. So if right now you're saying, I can't write fast enough, I can't take screenshots, totally fine. It'll be in my Kajabi. You'll be able to download this as a PDF so you can enter it as a smart plan. You did share with me as well, Jen, I believe, that you are using opportunities. I'm not going to quiz you on how to use the opportunities because you have leverage in your world. But I thought what might be interesting is, at what point do you consider a lead somebody that you need to cultivate? Actually, let me ask that again. I think I said, okay, let's start with that and then I'll clean up my question.
So once there's a two-way conversation, that's when we think, okay, we're really diving into this. We're going to assume that we're going to do business with this person. We always assume the best intentions, right? So once there is the second communication, so clearly they somehow registered for our website, they signed up for something, and it could have, it could have just been an accident. They may not have any interest. However, once that dialogue starts, so what we don't see on that plan is once one of if in anywhere in there they respond, the plan pauses, and then they get put on a different kind of follow-up. So that plan will stop if they respond on day 2 and they say, yeah, actually I do want to see 123 Main Street. Okay, now they're not receiving the next 8 days of pain.
Okay, so you said something really important in there, and that is that you're monitoring what they're receiving. So for those that are watching and saying, this is set it and forget it, they're going to get 10 days of pain. No, it's actually, you're having conversations along the way. So when the person does reply and it goes from pain to suddenly an exciting conversation, because now it's a real person, now you're really cultivating that relationship. Is that accurate?
Yep, we're cultivating the relationship. And, one of my favorite scripts is honestly, especially if we can get somebody on the phone, I want my motivation to match your motivation. So whether that buyer is 30 days out, 3 months out, or 36 months out, I want to establish rapport with them as quickly as I can and make sure that they stay in my world. Whether they buy now or they buy 36 months from now, I'm okay with that. However, I need to know what that motivation or that timeline is pretty quickly so that I can tailor the information they need to them. So I'm providing them with a service, right? If they're not ready for 36 months and I'm sending them information as if they're a 30-day buyer, they're annoyed with me. They're frustrated. I appear to be a used car salesman to them. However, if I think they're 36 months out and I treat them that way and they're a 30-day buyer, they're disappointed in my communication. So we get very quickly to the point on that of, I just want my motivation to match your motivation. I am here. We're on demand, right? Because we can do everything virtually right now. So we want to make sure, we talked a little bit yesterday about the initial speed to lead was lead comes in and you capture it. You have this second opportunity right now, which is really interesting, that you have the speed to lead on the front side of the lead coming in and you capturing it. The second speed to lead though is how quickly can I get in front of them? And right now with all of the Zoom calls and Google Hangouts and all of these things, my speed to lead to get in front of someone is insanely fast. Our conversion rates have jumped up. All of these things right now, there's a lot of great opportunity right now in the market to make sure, we're capturing those right now buyers and then still servicing those people that are several months down the road.
So without getting to an exact timeline, if somebody was 12 months away from, let's just choose a buyer, 12 months away from buying because buyers has been your specialty, would they then qualify to be in what you would call perhaps cultivate?
100% that we would cultivate them. Now that may stay with my lead generation department to nurture until they're ready. So the way that I was able to do so many units is I had this basis of leverage ahead of time. So I'm really meeting with people at the initial consult and then again when they're about 30 to 45 days out. However, we're interested in those people that are a year out and we're checking in on them frequently because we know their motivation or situation can change.
Okay, so I'm going to totally shift gears on you and pop up a command. First, I'm going to kind of just show the slide to get an understanding of opportunity tags. So something to consider for this community would be, when does somebody move from contacts into actually opportunities that you choose to cultivate them? And, Jen, you're kind of to share that a year might be your sweet spot. For some of our individuals, it might be longer. For some, it might be shorter. So the first question we all have to really answer for our own businesses is, at what point do I want this to be a cultivate relationship? And then as I shift over to command, nothing like managing a couple screens at the same time. So we're gonna pop up Chrome for a second. How do you do this? So I'm actually gonna go full screen, Jen. So I'm gonna go off camera just for a second and then I'll come back on. You can choose to do either one, totally up to you. All right, so we're gonna be inside of command for a second. We're gonna go to our opportunities. And this came up in a conversation yesterday, which at the point in which they move to an actual cultivate stage, what do I do? So let's just talk about opportunity tags. I went ahead and created a fake buyer. We call this buyer Joe Smith. And you'll see in here that I created 2 custom tags for Joe, one being first time home buyer, one being open house. Jen, somebody that runs a big business, would it be helpful to know if they were a first time home buyer or you met them at an open house?
Absolutely, both of those would be important because I'm going to give different information to a first-time home buyer. I also, at an open house, if that's how the lead came in, it's also a met instead of a non-met.
Fantastic. So you might even have, and we could go in here and actually view the details and edit this general information. And you might say that this is also a Met. So I can create a new Met category. And on the fly, I can add that to this contact. And now when I get back into my sales pipeline, go into Cultivate, I'll see that Joe is also a Met. Now, the interesting part about this is I can come up with an opportunity tag for anything I choose. Some other ideas that came up yesterday is maybe I want an investor tag. Maybe I want a luxury tag because they get treated a little bit differently. And having the ability to sort and filter by these custom tags as they move from phone call to virtual appointment to showing homes, for somebody that runs a buyer team, would you be able to quickly identify if there were any challenges in your funnel, any holes in your funnel?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you would know, number one, do you have enough people in your pipeline for the agents on your team? Or number two, do you have too many and is it time to hire? You know, do we need additional talent for our team? This is really the pulse of your company. What this is, it will show you the health of what your pipeline is.
And then at the end of the year, you could go back and sort by first-time homebuyers. Maybe you've got a tremendous opportunity to double down on your first-time homebuyer activities.
You could choose that. You could also say, okay, our first time home buyers, maybe our conversion rate wasn't what it was what we thought it was, or we had a good first meeting, but then they never moved into the showing homes portion of it. What do we need training around to make sure that we get more of the people that we're meeting?
And I love where you went with that. There's another perspective in this is, I might find that I just have a one-off tag. Maybe this is this person that's, maybe I'm alone in this. When I was selling real estate, occasionally I would have a challenging client. I have to imagine over the years and the hundreds of transactions you've been involved in, thousands at this point, you've had some challenging buyers.
Just one or two. Yeah, most of my slam dunks. Oh yeah, they're all challenging.
So, we talked about in previous sessions creating custom checklists. Well, what's really great about in this view that we're currently in, I can add just a step in my checklist for this particular client. So if I'm in this view and I'm going to add extra care call, now that's not going to save to my entire checklist. That's only going to save to this particular individual. And you'll see it went from 6 to 7 steps. So what I'm going to encourage this community to do is go through and first answer the question, when is somebody moving to contacts, from contacts into opportunities? A question came up, do these tags then flow backwards to their contact? And the answer is no to that question. You don't have to worry about it showing up on their contact card. I'm going to go back to coming on camera for a second as we've got a couple questions probably popping in. All right, so question came in, is Jen using checklists in the cultivate stage or more in the appointment and contract phase where there are more specific tasks to be performed? And I know you have an administrative team that's helping you as well at this point. So are they using some checklists?
We use checklists all the way through. So we run the business where we have an ops team. So our admin team, our ops team, we have a lead gen team, and we have a production team. So there are checklists throughout.
Great. So great question. If you have other questions, feel free to pop them in the questions box for the last couple of minutes that we have together with Jen. I do want to share what you're doing outside of absolutely killing it in the real estate business, and that is your group program. So I'm going to open up that screen as well. You should hopefully, nope, you're still seeing Chrome. Let's go to, there we go. Quick overview of your program. So Jen, tell us what you're doing. Yeah, you and Sarah.
Yep, so I co-coach a group program with Sarah Detmore out of the Loken group, and we really look at what the buy side would look like if it were built off of the MREA. And so the goal in it is to give people their time back. We're going to go through all of the tips that we've learned, all of the scripts that we've learned, all the efficiencies that we've built in, and really try to help somebody go from 0 units to 300 units if they want. And if they don't want 300, how do we make those 35 to 50 easier for them? So by the end of the program, it is a 6-week program. There is a full script book that you will have, that anybody that attends our program has. So we give all of our scripts, we give all of the knowledge that we have in trying to put some sanity into the buy side.
And that kicks off, if you're watching this live, it kicks off next Wednesday. So a week from tomorrow. I know based on what you've just shared with our group today, there has to be a tremendous amount of value for a relatively small investment. So our intention here in this program is to show the value of focusing on one area of the business and absolutely mastering that to take your business to whatever level you said. I mean, between the two teams, between you and Sarah, you're generating literally thousands of transactions per year. You've got best practices wrapped up. I know that this has been a tremendous value to this community. Is there anything else you want to make sure that this tech-enabled agent community hears coming from you?
Well, I think it is, if you're looking at the buy side, build it out like you're a business owner and not just a real estate agent, right? And that's what this is giving you the opportunity to do, to build in these efficiencies that do the heavy lifting. That's what the tech is there for, is to make sure that we can connect with more people in a more genuine way. And so, yeah, our program is, we love it, we're excited about it. And it's an entry-level coaching that's just fast-tracked for those of you that maybe have a buyer's agent that you have on your team, or if you're a rainmaker getting ready to potentially add that person. It will help get the mindset right around what the buy side can actually do, instead of that limiting belief of, a good buyer's agent can do, that 35 unit mark. What we're trying to show you is can be a big business.
Awesome. Jen, would you mind sharing your email? There was a few questions that said they had specific questions about your program. Would you be comfortable sharing that?
Please. So it's my name. It's Jen Davis, KW@gmail.com.
Great. Jen Davis, KW.com. Easy to remember. If you have questions or you got a lot of value after this, and perhaps you want to watch the session again, it will be on demand. So it'll be on my Kajabi. We're also intending to send this out and making it kind of come from behind the tech-enabled agent wall as well, in case you have additional friends that want to watch this, get some value out of it. Jen, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us today. I learned a lot about the way you run your business, and I really appreciate you coming on here and taking time out.
Thank you so much. What a great program. I mean, that was like a lot of information that you just gave on how to build something out. I'm pretty excited.
Well, again, thank you. It's awesome to watch how much your business has grown. I shared with you yesterday, I remembered your business from being on stage with Gary just a few years ago, and it was easy to remember somebody that's closing 200 plus transactions a year without showing properties themselves. So you've accomplished a whole lot. Congratulations on all your success. And if we can ever support you in any way, please let us know.
I appreciate you, Tim. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again on Thursday.